Once again, my friends, Lord of the Rings Online continues to impress, while other MMOs always tend to disappoint. We've got big news coming to Lord of the Rings Online. For those of you guys that do not follow the expansion, stay tuned because we're going to be talking about all the new stuff coming to this MMO. An MMO that continues to impress all these years later. I'm ready to geek out. Let's talk about what's coming to Lord of the Rings Online. But first, before we dive into Lord of the Rings Online, I do want to give a shout out to this channel's sponsor, Zygor. It is the best, most perfect World of Warcraft add-on ever made for those of you guys that are WoW players watching this, and they're linked down below in the description if you want to check them out. So let's dive into a whole new era of Lord of the Rings Online, shall we? Today, I want to talk to you guys about Lord of the Rings Online's newest expansion that's about to drop. I want to talk about the new class that's coming out, all the new features coming with this new expansion, and just maybe even talk about, well, actually, let's start the video off with just what is Lord of the Rings Online and why is it so special? You know, a lot of people watching this video have probably never played Lord of the Rings Online before, and I made a whole video as to why you should check out Lord of the Rings Online in 2023, but I'm going to give you guys a quick summary of what this game is and why it is so special and beloved by so many people around the world. You see, most MMOs are just all about rush to endgame, do raiding, collect gear, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But Lord of the Rings Online is special in the MMO industry in that it's a very immersive, story-driven MMO, more kind of role-play-ish, if you would, and that is more the focus of the game. The developers pride themselves on the music, on the writing, on just the accuracy that they try to keep to Tolkien's universe. I'm sure you can find some errors here and there, but it's such a well-crafted game that any person who's a fan of Lord of the Rings, if you allow yourself to play this game and dive in, you're going to love it. It's why I love the game. It's probably why you love the game and why you're watching this video, but I just wanted to say that to get things started before we dive into all the new content. This new expansion that is coming out is called the Corsairs of Umbar expansion, and it is bringing several pieces of new content to the Lord of the Rings Online universe that I think you guys are going to find very interesting. The biggest and most important thing that probably most of us are excited for is the new class. And this expansion is bringing a ton of new content to Lord of the Rings Online, but the first and most important thing to talk about is Umbar itself, the location of this expansion. Where even is Umbar in Lord of the Rings? Most of you guys have probably only watched the Lord of the Rings movies, so you probably don't know where Umbar is. If I put up a map of Middle-earth here, it's all the way down in the south. This is an area that the movies did not explore, so don't feel bad if you've never heard this word before. Umbar is this land of Corsairs, seafaring people. Think sea shanties and riding the waves and all that good stuff. Look at these screenshots that we're getting from Umbar as well, from the Lord of the Rings Online team. It looks absolutely beautiful. Now, I know some people are going to be like, oh man, the graphics, dude. Listen, I don't want to hear it, okay? I don't want to hear it. I'm like... Now, you know there's going to be some of them wieners down in the comment section and being like, oh man, look at them graphics, look absolutely garbage. Now this though, oh man, look at that. Now that is beautiful. Listen, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, okay? Come here, come closer, okay? Graphics don't make a game. You know how many people play frickin' Minecraft nowadays? Because Minecraft is admittingly a pretty enjoyable game to play here and there, right? That game's just a bunch of blocks. Look at Vampire Survivors, look at Dwarf Fortress. Graphics don't make a game, dude. Don't knock it till you try it. The point is, this new expansion is going to take place in Umbar, and the expansion is going to be bringing a ton of new enemies for us to fight. Now, we don't really have too many details on those new enemies, at least at the time of me recording this, so we can just speculate. But one of the cool things about Umbar is that we're going to see 350 quests added to the game. That might not seem like such a big deal for some people that are watching this from other MMOs, but for those of us that know Lord of the Rings Online, its storytelling, its lore, its immersive quality, 350 new quests? Yeah, yes please. But you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, Umbar's cool and whatnot, new location, but what's the meat of this expansion, Nixxiom? What's that big thing that's gonna draw people in? Guys, let's talk about the Mariner, the new class coming to Lord of the Rings Online. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I love these new ways to experience these online worlds. And so the Mariner class, you better believe I'm going to check it out. What is the Mariner? It's a pirate. Umbar, pirates. Come on, man. So it's a pirate themed class. You're a sailor pretty much, singing sea shanties, fighting people with your little swords and whatnot. this is a melee class first and foremost. A melee class that, kind of similar to other classes in Lord of the Rings Online, they are going to have a sort of skill chain system that keeps the class interesting during combat. Specifically though, this class is going to have what's called the balance system, where your character can be either in 3 states of balance. You've got steady, which is the default stance. You've got afterward and forward. And apparently as you're using different abilities with your sword, with your rapier, with whatever your melee weapons are, apparently sometimes you're gonna be on the back foot, and sometimes you're gonna be leaning forward, and sometimes you're gonna be steady. The point is, you're a character class that needs to keep your balance as you are sword fighting with people. This certainly sounds interesting. I think it would be hilarious if the character could fall over if your balance goes too far one way or the other, but we'll see how it goes. I have not gotten the chance to play the class yet, but I would certainly like to. But what truly makes the class special, at least for me, is that it is a sea shanty class. That's right, everybody. If you are somebody that you love the singing in Lord of the Rings Online, yeah, we've had that bard class for a while. Well, minstrel, I should say. But now we've got a new class that's going to be singing songs, specifically sea shanties. And mariners apparently can also, quote, craft strange concoctions. Now, what does that mean? You know, they like putting gunpowder and rum like into a bottle or something and throwing it at people? I have no idea. But we're gonna find out. Now there's 3 specs to the Mariner that we need to talk about. The first one is the Shanty spec, which is of course the spec that I'm gonna play. And this is a group support specialist class with a focus on maximizing group damage. You can kind of look at it like a bard class. You know, the guy is singing songs, he's buffing the people around him, he's keeping them stronger, letting them do more damage and whatnot. This is the kind of spec that I'd want to be personally. Next, we have the duelist. So as a duelist, you're sacrificing your ability to buff people and you're sacrificing a lot of your AoE abilities to really just be a big DPS spec, right? It's more melee focused. You're going to be using that balance system a whole lot more, putting a lot more focus on it. The duelist is the second spec. But the third one is called the rover spec. Now, I'm assuming that every single person that chooses this spec is going to be singing the song The Wild Rover the entire time that they're playing the dang class. Now, this is a spec that focuses a lot on crowd control and debuffing enemies. So, from what I'm understanding, the Shanty class is all about, you know, buffing your group mates and making them more powerful, whereas this spec, the Rover, you are debuffing the enemies, like, you know, groups of enemies all at once. You're crowd controlling them, so your emphasis is on the enemies, whereas the Shanty class, your emphasis is on the group, but it's still like an AoE spec apparently. So 3 specs for the Mariner. Which one sounds the most interesting to you guys? Lastly, we're getting an increase to the level cap of up to 150, and we're also going to see a new raid coming out in this expansion. There's also a reference in the write-up about Corsairs of Umbar that says dungeons, and so I'm not really sure if that implies there's going to be multiple dungeons added with this new expansion. I guess we're going to find out. Either way, I'm really excited. We just had a big update to Lord of the Rings Online where I was talking about the new heroic system that the game put in that has drawn in a ton of new players. I've been playing Lord of the Rings Online in the background myself, just enjoying this system with my friends. And the game is just doing really well overall right now because a lot of people are interested in Lord of the Rings at the moment. Mostly because of Rings of Power, but we're not going to talk about that show in this video. But the point is, if you're somebody sitting there and you're like, man, like, why are people playing this old as dirt MMO? Like, what is so appealing about it? I don't get it. Is this really a good game to play in 2023? You should be watching the video on your screen right now because I talk about whether or not it is worth it to check out Lord of the Rings Online in the current year. Guys, thanks for watching. I will see you in Corsairs of Umbar, and stay cool.